been looking forward to for a long time, since I knew it was going to happen. There's many friends in the room. I see my colleague Jane Nelson from Keddie School, who's been very close to us and a pioneer and a leader in this field. The team from FSG, an organization that is very proud of, that Mark did most of the work, but I'm happy to be a co-founder. And what's very, very exciting is looking around the room and seeing all the people that are here. I can't help but recognize Erica Karp. Erica has helped us pull together the major investors in the world to talk about how investors need to think differently about the company opportunity in addressing social issues. And what a force to be able to do that. I mean, and this is not the socially responsible investors. This is the real investors. You know, the BlackRocks. You know, the folks that grind up companies and spit them out if they don't perform. I see some of you in this room who have actually lived and made shared value thinking come to life. And over the course of this day, I hope we're going to hear more and more about that. So what I'd like to do this morning is we have a group of people in the room that we're very diverse in the sense that some of you are really the early people that we've known for years in working on this topic of shared value. And I put Nestle kind of on the top of that list. In fact, it was Nestle's poking and prodding, you know, Peter Brabeck in particular, that actually led to this article, Creating Shared Value, being written. Because in the earlier work that Mark and I had done, they identified this kind of idea and said, gee, you know, you should write more about it. So Janet is here from Nestle, and so I see companies like Nestle that have been involved in this in the beginning. But we also have a lot of people here who are kind of coming to this discussion, really maybe not for the first time, but this is one of your early opportunities to be part of this discussion. And so what I'd like to do in just a few minutes, I'm shooting for about 25 minutes or so, is see if I can give you at least the way I would describe the essence of what we're talking about here. Because I think we're still having a lot of discussion and debate about what is shared value. What do we really mean? Those of you in companies are going to find that a lot of your leadership team is kind of wondering, where this fits and what it really is. We have a lot of people who still say, gee, there's nothing new here. Which, by the way, happens in every generation of academic thinking. The first reaction is, there's nothing new here. I remember when I put out the 5 forces, oh, there's nothing new here. But ultimately, once you understand it, what you understand is what is the contribution, what is new. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the core idea. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about what some of the big, major opportunities that have emerged as we've understood this idea better, which I think will set up a lot of the discussion that we are going to have today. Where we are now with this work, I think, is not proof of concept. I think we now have hundreds, thousands of examples of creating shared value across every imaginable field, every imaginable sector, every imaginable function of business. That's not the issue now. I think the issue now is how we actually kind of accelerate the application of this idea in companies. And that involves tools issues, that involves organizational issues, that involves a whole set of issues in terms of new kinds of partnerships. So what we're really focusing on now is how do we put this idea into practice? And I'd like to talk about that a little bit as well. But before I do that, I want to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page in terms of what is this? What are we talking about? And then I think the day will hopefully unfold in a very powerful way. And then once I talk a little bit, Mark and I are going to come up and we're going to have a little bit of an opportunity to have a discussion session about really the basic framing and the basic concept itself. And so I want you to, as you're thinking, I want you to have your toughest question in mind. Because if we in this room can't talk and understand clearly what we mean here, and if we can't kind of explain it to others, then ultimately we'll not be nearly as successful as we need to be in kind of putting this into practice. So what is the basic idea here? Well, I think that the kind of premises and that have led to this work, at least for me, go something like this. I think what we all, I hope, in this room understand is that there's only one institution in society that can create wealth. Only one, and that's business. Government can't create wealth. Government can harvest wealth, redistribute it, use that to make investments in social, in public goods and things like that, but government can't create wealth. NGOs can't create wealth as NGOs. NGOs can take resources and hopefully use those resources to solve important social challenges through various programs and other initiatives, but ultimately they depend on funding to do that. They can't create wealth. Only business can create wealth. Business creates wealth through a magical process of making a profit. That's how all wealth in society is created. Some business comes up with an idea for a product or a service that somebody needs and is willing to pay for. Business figures out a way to deliver that product or services for less than the cost of selling it, for less than the cost of producing it. And it's that act of making a profit that is magic. That's how wealth is created. Out of nothing, this process leads to wealth. And if that wealth is created, then all the jobs that are necessary are permanent jobs or sustainable jobs. If that wealth is created, then it can be scaled to anybody who needs that product or service can have it. That we all understand, I think, hopefully we all understand that only business can create wealth. And something I'm going to say several times today, and you're going to hear again, is we can't be embarrassed about that. That's the magic that makes societies prosperous. It's that process. So we understand that business creates wealth. We also understand, I think those of us in business, that a healthy business that's going to create wealth and sustain that wealth creation over time requires a healthy community in which to operate. If we have communities that are failing, if we have people that are that have problems, if we have poverty, if we have inequality, if we have an unhealthy community, ultimately business is constrained, deeply affected and constrained in the ability to create wealth. I think at some very broad level, we accept that. That said, we are in a period